And then in the meantime, I am going to share my PowerPoint. So the point of us doing this is for two things. One is there's just a lot of information out there, and I want you to have good information, and I want you to be able to share it with others. That is also why, and I'm also doing two. In the meantime, I am going to share. All right, that's why we don't. Hold on. Point.
Let me know when you want to hit the record button also.
Oh, good. So I didn't get that mishap. All right, hang in there, everybody. I've got too many things going on. Can you record, Kathy? Are you able to do that? Thank you very much. All right, and now let me find my Zoom buttons here. All right, Kathy, give me a heads up. Am I sharing my screen or not?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Then I need to get out of this. This is why I don't normally go live on YouTube. All right, let me go back to sharing my screen. All right, so now I think I've got it right. Am I good? And I can't see thumbs up. So Kathy, can you give me a voice if it's good?
Lovely.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So welcome everyone. And I really appreciate you coming tonight, especially with it being in the middle of the holiday season. And you know what? I've learned that I'm not offended anymore when someone says happy holidays, because there's so many holiday events that happen in this whole fall season that when someone says happy holidays, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Feast of Sukkot, going into Hanukkah, and then also for my family who loves Christmas. And so that's no longer an offense to me. I don't feel like I had to say, no, it's Merry Christmas. And many of you probably know Jesus wasn't born in the middle of December. And that's another reason why I no longer get offended. And I just will say back to them, yes, happy Hanukkah, Christmas, and Sukkot. And I guess I don't get it over my Sukkot celebration quickly. I like to continue it for longer than it's actually was designated for. So tonight it's all about the Bible diet. How can we simplify our health? How can we just know the basic principles to gaining back the health that God promised us in his word? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And so it comes down to the number 3. And I could have listed, well, actually, I don't know how many times the number 3 is designated in scripture. I didn't even go in to check that out. Probably one of you could Google that, or you already know the answer and put that in the chat box. But number 3 is what we're going to focus on tonight. And when you look at our health, in just 3 days, your gut heals. We learned this, my husband and I, we learned this the hard way, which is how we learn things the best, is when we started making a change in our diet. Within 3 days, my husband says, I don't think I need this Prevacid anymore. Well, I said, you have symptoms with it, you have symptoms without it. It's totally your choice to balance out which ones do you want to deal with. Well, he stopped taking it. That was back in 2005, I believe. And he hasn't needed it since. All because finally his gut was able to heal. In 30 days, every cell in your heart has been replaced. This is interesting because I was just talking to a client earlier this week, and they were talking about a person with a heart blockage. It's actually a friend of theirs. And they can't get into surgery until January. And so we were talking about what are some things that they can do now. Well, the answer is there's a lot we can do now, because we're almost a month away from having that surgery, only because they can't get them in any sooner. So he has one artery totally blocked 100%, another one 75% blocked. And she says, well, I can tell him what you've suggested. He can do that after surgery. And I said, well, if it were me, I would start it right away. And here's why. We can start the healing effect in the heart now, so that when surgery time comes, we may have a lesser occlusion in those arteries, and we may have a more successful surgery. Even if we don't have a smaller occlusion, we will have a quicker turnaround. We will have a quicker healing because the cells are already in repair mode. So every 30 days, the cells in your heart have been replaced. Now, that doesn't mean what's causing the clot has been removed. It just means you've created this health in your cells, in your heart. The muscle's going to be stronger. The rate of the pump is going to be stronger. The flow of the blood is going to be stronger. You get to make such an impact in your health every 30 days. I mean, every 3 days, just in your gut, every 30 days in your heart alone. And then the other three, we can't ignore that we are three: body, soul, and spirit. And of course, you could go into the Trinity. I mean, you could just go on all night long about the threes, but I just kept it to three. So, all right, about the Bible diet. Again, it's all about three. I was looking in Isaiah 57, and in Isaiah 57:13, I mean, it says more than this, but the words were, I will heal him. Isaiah 57:19, I will heal him. Isaiah 58:9, you will call and the Lord will answer. You will cry and he will say, here I am. Many times when we are caught in the anxiety, the confusion, and the chaos of wondering to know, what do I do? This YouTuber says to do this. This YouTuber says to do this. I mean, there's so much information out there. I thought it was a Wild West when I had to find answers for my husband, but it has exploded 100 times since I had to start searching for answers. And so what we're going to go over tonight is the basics. It's the foundation. So no matter where you go for answers, you can use this foundation as kind of your barometer as to whether or not what someone is teaching you is true or is it not true. And so just one of these reminders. Number one, the Lord heals. Number two, the Lord heals. And number three, he will answer you. So if we are caught in the confusion and chaos, which I always call the winds of opinion, they just kind of sway here and there, just like wind can happen. God is still there. His word is still true. And so we can always have that as our anchor as we are searching answers for our health. And then what we're going to go over tonight is 3 steps to enjoy food again, from feasting to fasting, 3 eating tips, proven and timeless, and 3 beliefs to be set free. Now, we advertise this as a Q&A time as well. So let me get partway into this presentation before you start posting the questions, because we may lose your questions in the long feed. So hang on to your questions for a little bit, and then we'll open it up, and that way I won't miss as many questions this way. All right, but then anytime I'm in a struggle, whether it's physical, mental, or spiritual, I always come back to this verse in Isaiah 57:14, and it says, build up, prepare the way, remove every obstacle out of the way of my people. And it's just a good verse. So if I'm going to build up and prepare the way, then I'm going to learn and gain the wisdom and knowledge that God helps me to see. And then when an obstacle comes up, I'm going to say, wait a minute, is that of God or is that a lie? And if it's a lie, that's an obstacle. And get it out of my way, because it's not going to help me with my health. It's not going to help me with my relationships with my family. It's not going to help me to fulfill the mission that God has called me for. That's just a fun verse. Usually I will do it more in like a melody, which I will not do tonight. But it's a fun verse to say and just to memorize. All right, now you know what's happening on the forefront. Robert F. Kennedy, he's come on the scene, and what he's doing is bringing to light what we've been teaching for for 20 years. For 20 years, we've been teaching this content. And now all of a sudden people are coming up to me in church and saying, Annette, did you know? And then they tell me what Kennedy said. I'm like, yeah, remember that class I taught you back in 2010? Oh, that's right. You did tell me that. I'm like, yeah. So it's nothing new, but the beauty of this is it's coming to the forefront. It's coming to your church because people are now hearing about it everywhere. And now all of a sudden people are questioning what they eat. And maybe that's why you're here tonight. It's like, wait a minute, what's all this talk? I need to see what Annette has to say about this. So this is a really good thing that Mr. Kennedy is bringing this to the forefront. And it's very interesting how companies, before the transfer of power from Biden to Trump, companies are already starting to say, well, we're just going to go ahead and ban this, and we're going to ban that, we're going to ban that. That's great. I'm excited about that. But we need to recognize, and I put this verse up here, Isaiah 57:13, when you cry out, let your collection of idols deliver you, because many people have made food their idol. And when we've tried to talk to them about, would you consider eating healthier food? Well, no one's going to tell me what to eat. Okay. And literally, I've had people say to my face, Annette, we're saved by grace. We can eat what we want. Well, I'm going to show you tonight that may be okay. It's not going to change your salvation, but it's totally going to change how effectively you can live and serve. And so we need to remember that. After I was going through this PowerPoint, I realized I didn't really mean to make it look like Kennedy was an idol. He's not. I just happened to put those two pictures together. All right. So when did our problem with food start? Well, we all know who to blame, or we try to blame. It started with Eve. So you go back to Genesis 3. First of all, Eve entertained contrary ideas. That was the first mistake. She started deviating from what she was taught. Then she contemplated it. Well, I wonder. And then she chose to follow that suggestion. And what she did was she cheated herself. It didn't change who God was. It changed the relationship. And I always find interesting too, is that the whole teaching about the temple. The Garden of Eden was a geographical temple. Now the temple is within you. Now, whether you know it or not, over 160 million chemicals have been created or altered by man. I say altered because some chemicals come from nature and then they get changed in the lab. And then other chemicals, just because it's a play on the word chemical, other chemicals were created. And after World War II, we had an onslaught of chemicals because they had come up with all this chemical warfare they needed to then figure out what to do with. And then it started coming into our foods and onto our crops and into the animals. Now they're only claiming that 10,000, as if that's not very many, only 10,000 are acknowledged to be used in food. That's not, they don't even know exactly how many chemicals because the companies are not required to report everything. You may think the EPA has been here and the FDA has been here to protect you. No, they have not. And so you get to choose between vibrant foods that are going to go into your body and give you such incredible mental clarity, such incredible energy, whether you're 20 or 70, or you can choose to cheat yourself from the abundant life that God has promised you. Now, I'm not talking about spiritual abundant life because that's God's to give you and for you to enjoy, but physical abundant life. You get to choose. Do you want to cheat yourself like Eve did? Or do you want to feed yourself well? It's always your choice. And I may have some foods up there that you're like, oh, I wish she hadn't put that food on there. And don't admit to it. So just we'll move on. And now, because of the new administration coming in, it doesn't matter if you like the new administration or don't like the new administration, everyone in America is going to benefit because your health is going to improve. Now we have companies who have been targeting children in their sales that are now going to face legal issues. This is such a major breakthrough. I am so excited. It takes everything within me to hold me back when I see a little child, usually younger than 5, drinking a diet soda. There's nothing quicker to destroy those brain cells and to destroy the liver of that child than a diet soda. It's all I can do. I just have to walk on and just pretend I didn't see it because no one's going to appreciate how I would like to respond. All right, let's look at some of the chemicals here that have been in your food. All of these I've written about before. They're in the nutrition manual. We talk about it in the Bible study. So those of you who have been with me for a long time, you already know all of this. So these are just some of the chemicals. These are just in your everyday foods. How many potato chips has your family eaten? How much aspartame have you had in different foods? We're talking about chewing gum. We're talking about cereals. We're talking about bread, chips, soda, candy, ice cream, all of this. Cancer, 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 kidney injury, liver injury. That's where we're starting this is bread here. And this bleaching agent in the bread and the pastries leads straight to fatty liver disease. This right here for kids, hyperactivity, even cancer. So we go on even further. Look at this, has 7 artificial dyes in these Pop-Tarts. I will admit, my mom let us have Pop-Tarts when we were growing up. And behavioral difficulties. I wonder if she knew that. I wonder if she would equate that. I've been teaching for 20 years now about BHA and BHT. They're highly known carcinogens and they're still out there in the children's cereals. and it can damage or it can damage DNA. It can alter your DNA. And many of you may say, yes, well, okay, my family has a genetic factor that causes this. Okay, that genetic factor does not have to express itself unless a trigger causes it. These chemicals cause the triggers to exacerbate themselves in your genetic code. So let me explain that differently. If all of your brothers and sisters have cholesterol issues and you don't, and you've been eating really healthy, because eating healthy makes it so that trigger and that genetic code doesn't cause high cholesterol. You can tone down genetic codes, epigenetics is what we call it, by what you eat. So if you exasperate your own health by eating all of these chemicals, then yes, you will have high cholesterol numbers. It's not a true high cholesterol, but it's definitely a problem. Now, let me ask you this. This is mostly about children on this screen. I mean, look at this little baby. This is not unusual. That's the sad part. Diabetic children, this is not unusual. We have a lot of married couples who have infertility problems. That is a natural scenario considering the chemicals in our food. The chemicals in all of our crops are designed to interfere with reproductive activity because they're trying to kill the bugs to not be able to produce anymore. Well, why wouldn't that have an effect on us? It has to have an effect on us. Children who can't concentrate to play games, children on asthma inhalers. This is a serious crisis. Now, catch this. You are a $1 billion solution. What I mean by that, you're not going to make billions, but billions are being spent on the fact that you cannot stop eating food. Every confused, addicted eater is worth billions of dollars to the food industry. And here's something else I don't know if you're aware of. When our children are in identity crisis, which has been preached to them a lot in the last couple of years, that every child who goes into hormone therapy to change their gender is worth $1 million to the pharmaceutical industry. Every single child, because they have to be on that the rest of their life. And they're trying to get it to where ultra processed foods are classified as addictive. I mean, we don't have to be told that. Most people who eat addictive food, you already know, oh yeah, you cannot eat just one. That was kind of a fun commercial at one time. And then everyone tried to prove it and everyone proved it was right. All right, so when we are having issues because of the food, the first thing that gets interfered with is hormones. Because hormones are throughout your whole entire body. They are the communication between systems. And yet, look at this voice. Look at this voice. I see the word voice. Look at this screen of all of the trouble we can have from hormonal imbalance. This is not just estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. This is all of the hormones all wrapped up together in one. And you can see all of the different hormonal symptoms that can take place. And every chemical that's put on our food is going to interrupt the hormonal imbalance. All right, so then I also want you to look at the vaccination schedule. If you look back to 1983, there were 11 shots, 24 doses. You look into 2023, we're up to 58 shots and 76 doses. This has a compounding effect. And just realize on the CDC website, vaccines are tested individually, not in combinations given. Originally, when the vaccination schedule was set up here in 1983, it was to correspond with the woman's time off of work. It was never put together for the safety of the baby. It was only to correspond with her time off of work. And a lot of moms were off for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So they tried to get as many shots in as in those 3 to 6 months so she didn't have to get a babysitter and she could just do it herself. And then they kind of taper off from there. You need to consider, we were not created by God vaccine deficient, and always keep that in mind. All right. Another one of the seminars, health seminars I was just at, they're talking about Hashimoto's. Well, Hashimoto's used to be like 1 in 200 women have it. This one doctor was talking about the fact that, 1 in 200 women had it. Now in his office alone is 1 in 20. 1 in 20 women who come into his office are dealing with Hashimoto's, and they don't even know it. And this requires a very specific testing, thyroid testing, and consistent thyroid testing. You don't just test one time and determine, oh, yes, you have it, or no, you don't, because those numbers change so frequently. You need to see a series of tests. to know exactly what's going on. Because look at some of the symptoms: brain fog, constipation, menstrual changes, fatigue. I mean, these symptoms can relate to so many different things, and you don't know. So you have to find a really good doctor to talk to decide to learn if you do have this. It can totally be overcome. But since COVID and since the COVID shot, this issue has escalated. And I'm not telling you anything about COVID or the COVID shot. I'm just saying we need to be aware of what's happening now that we are past tense of that. Here's another issue that we're dealing with. I mean, this picture alone of this guy, I mean, that is just, yeah, that's, I really don't know how to describe it. It's really bad. So here we have a healthy liver. You've seen a healthy liver in the butcher or at the grocery store. You know what it looks like. It should have a nice, beautiful color to it, kind of a not turquoise. It should have a nice maroon color to it. That means it's had a healthy blood flow. It should be nice and smooth, no ripples, no dimples, no strange look to it. It should be beautiful. Yet, look at the progression. So fatty liver, which is what we're seeing here in this guy, and you can just see the layers of fat over him here. And this is why there's a strain on the heart, because you have this pressure on top. And then here you have the liver. Actually, yeah, that's a strange picture. All right, then you go from a healthy liver to a fatty liver, which will naturally progress to fibrosis, naturally progress to cirrhosis, naturally progress to cancer. But the beauty of it is, remember the first screen that I shared with you in Isaiah 57, I am the Lord who heals. Exodus 15:26, I am the Lord who heals. These arrows can go in reverse, from cancer to cirrhosis to fibrosis to fatty livers to healthy, because the liver God created to regenerate, and it is always willing and able to be healed. But we have to stop doing what we're doing. We have to start eating healthy foods. Now, this is my favorite slide of all time. I take it everywhere, but it's probably very confusing. So just only look where I want you to look. I don't know if that's possible. But what I want you to see here is look at these foods down at the bottom. We have probiotics and prebiotics, and let's see if I can get my screen to go away. Oh, darn. There we go. And we have fermented foods, we have beans, we have whole grains. So we have just this first half, and you see this like a green side and then more of a red irritated side. These foods are going to give us the neurotransmitters, they're going to give us the cytokines, they're going to do good signaling. And we have this mucosal layer here. This is the lining of our gut. And these nutrients are going to come in, they're going to do their thing. And this here is the barrier to your brain, this pink layer up here. And so you have all these tight junctions. And so only what God designed to get into your brain gets into your brain. This is this side beautiful from this yellow barrier. You've got the tight gut lining. Then you have these nice natural progression. We have the blood-brain barrier, the tight junctions, and then we have all of this great stuff going on. This side, a person is thinking well, their memory is great, their coordination is great, they're able to process, they're able to retain, everything's working beautifully. Hormones are talking and singing to each other. On this side, we have, and actually the person who put this together is anti-meat, and that's okay. Meat is good or bad depending on who raised the animal and depending on what animal we're talking about. So it can go either way. But high fat foods, sugar, processed sugar, food additives, and antibiotics, what they do is they create openings. See this red arrow? That's an opening in that junction. This is inflammation. Notice how our mucosal lining is almost non-existent by the time we get down to the antibiotics. The food additives, they go in and they just start stripping away that mucosal barrier. Without the mucosal barrier, anything can start going through these junctions. Then it gets into your bloodstream, into your vascular system, well, it's the bloodstream, into your lymphatic system, which is what I meant to say. It's going to start causing problems. Now, this barrier to your brain is letting these chemicals into your brain, and now you do not have the connections. You've got degeneration, you've got inflammation, and your brain, you're like, I just can't think. I just can't process. I'm just having a bad day. Well, trace it back to your foods, because there's a direct correlation. It's not, you can go to the doctor at any time, but sometimes you just need to take the first steps yourself and change the diet. All right, let's go on. Causes of health challenges, ultra processed foods, the chemicals, lack of exercise. Exercise helps your body to process chemicals out quicker. If you can exercise to a sweat, then sweat the chemicals out. God created your body to detox naturally. Increased medications. If you're on medications, just realize they are altering the effect that God created. So you're going to have to be more intentional about eating healthy. Taking medications is not an excuse to do what you want. It's a reason to be more intentional about doing good. Misunderstanding of the Creator. If you totally understood how much God loves you, how He created you, how He created your body to heal in more ways than they've even discovered, then you would want to feed it well. And love misplaced. Many times people are eating because they don't feel loved, so they go to food or they go to addictive food. All right. And here's our new normal. You can just look at the list. I'm not going to read it all. You can just kind of see. It's a very sad list, but it's a very true list. What we've done is, remember Eve? She cheated herself. What we are doing, we are cheating ourselves of a healthy life. We gave away, just like Eve, we gave away our food, we gave away our health, we gave away the next 3 generations of health, and we gave away our longevity. The children today are not living as healthy as children were created to live. And we gave it away by reaching for chemically processed food. And it's our choice. We get to choose differently. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Diets, some work, some don't. Actually, any diet can work if you follow it correctly and you do it for the right reasons. And there's numerous diets. I could have filled the page with diets. All right, let's go to the 3. Tonight, we're going to talk about 3 steps to better eating between fasting and feasting, 3 tips to stay in a healing phase, and 3 beliefs necessary for healing. And remember what Scripture says, I am the Lord who heals. All right, let's go into the first one. 3 steps to learn to eat. Number 1, learn to feast. When you talk about, when Scripture is talking about a feast, it was a celebration. It was a time to come together for fellowship. This is very important if we want to create healing in our body again. When we come together for a purpose of fellowship and for feasting, I'm not talking about a buffet line of feast. I'm talking about getting a plate of food, setting it before you, and enjoying the company you're with. That's learning to feast, recognizing God was the creator of the food, recognizing the people around you are who He wants you to be of service to, or to witness to, or to fellowship with. Let food be a feast. Many times feast is misused in the word like, oh, well, I'll use the term pig out. Let's do that. No, a feast is to be a time of fellowshipping and nourishment, nourishing the friendships, nourishing with the food. Learn to feast. Learn the signals, hunger and satisfied signals, and then learn how to fast. All right, learn to feast at the table, sitting down with family. I will say one of the things I did well as a parent is we ate our meals at the table together. And because we didn't allow a lot of extracurricular activities, we ate almost every single meal together. We didn't eat out much because we were on a very tight budget. And back then, eating out wasn't as prevalent as it is today. And I always tried to, when I always had to work just to keep the income, but I always worked odd hours. I would work night shifts, weekends, because I always worked at Missouri Baptist Hospital when I was raising my kids. And so mealtime was important. My husband and I, we did everything to make mealtime at the table, sitting down. Does that mean every conversation was the most incredible, pleasant? No. Sometimes it was, what were you doing? Why did you do that? And we'd be caught up in that. But we were at the table, sitting down, eating together. And number 2, with family. Sometimes you might be alone, but if you're alone, still sit at the table. And then allow time to eat. The rushed mentality causes havoc in our digestive system. The stress causes havoc in being able to process the food, to metabolize the food. If you want to start to heal your body, to walk into and to live in a state of healing instead of stress that we're in, then we need you to, hold on a minute. Okay, we need to allow time to relax and to fellowship. Learn the signals. True hunger has a signal. And it's not that signal that you walk by a food and you're like, oh, I need to have that. No, that's not a hunger signal. hunger is, if you came to our retreat, you probably experienced hunger because the meals were perfectly proportioned, but not too much. And so by the next meal, you were probably like, oh, wow, I am hungry. And the next meal, you're like, yeah, I am hungry again, but you weren't starving, you were hungry. And so you might have learned hunger signals if you came to our retreat. And then pace your meals. Don't be in a hurry. Again, we have so much control over the healing of our gut, which is the healing of our entire body. We just need to take advantage of it. True hunger, pace yourself, and then learn the signals for satisfied. When you balance these three out, you will never have to be on a diet ever again, because God has created your body to tell you what it needs, to tell you when you need to eat and how much. The problem is that billion-dollar industry, the foods they've created were intentionally designed to block your hormone signals to tell you hunger and to tell you satisfied. But you can gain it back. That's the beauty of who God is. He's created you to heal and to recognize how he is at work. All right, so one of the testimonies is listening to my body and not my mind. I never realized how much my mind tells me I want. So I started asking myself, am I hungry? The answer, well, no, not really. I'm choosing to be aware of what my body is telling me instead of what my head is telling me what I want or need. This was submitted by one of our inner circle people. Learning the signals can set you free in so many ways. All right, learn to fast. Break the fast, time the fast, and bless the fast. We all fast. The question is, how intentional are you with your fast? The best fast is, I don't know if you have those quizzes, Kathy, or not. Okay, so let's do a fasting poll. Kathy's got a poll ready for you. So let's go ahead and do this fasting poll. Let's see what your answers are. What is the best time to fast? Overnight for 12 hours, 1 hour between meals, 6 hours between breakfast and lunch. I love watching this poll. I get to see the numbers change as you all enter your comments.
I love how the really obvious wrong answer is never chosen.
Yes. All right, there's some fluctuating on that 6 hours between breakfast and lunch. So the question is, what is the best time to fast? Not that the 6 hours is wrong, but totally the best fast that you can do as a gift to your body is the 12 hours overnight. So right. Congratulations to 86% of you. Good answers. All right, so definitely break the fast. Now realize when we're talking about breaking the fast, breakfast is a word. Yes, it's not a quote biblical word, but it's not a biblical word. But the breakfast is the most important meal. That was created by the cereal manufacturers. We need to understand where this all started. And that was to get you to start eating cereal. Yes, they tried to get you to eat fiber, but it was a processed food, and we started lacking the nutrients that we would have gained by just eating a normal meal at home that our parents were cooking before then. And so breakfast is definitely breaking the fast. And if you can delay breakfast to make sure you fasted a total of 12 hours between last night's dinner, and that means that when you put the fork down for the last time, to when you pick up the fork first thing in the morning for breakfast, that needs to be a minimum of 12 hours. Just doing that, your body is going to sing the hallelujah chorus. So think about that tonight as you go to bed. Just kind of make a mental note. Wow, what time did I finish my meal tonight? And then think about, okay, then it means I will not eat breakfast before, and then whatever that 12-hour mark is. Time the fast. What I mean by that is be intentional. What we teach in both the 40-day transformation and in the inner circle is fast overnight and then fast a minimum of 4 hours between meals. That allows your body time to process and metabolize what you've taken in and allow it to cleanse itself totally. And then before you start the next meal, this is how we're going to get our hormones working for us again, both the hormones for hunger and satisfied, ghrelin and leptin, but also the other hormones, even estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are affected by good fasting. And then bless the fast. Do it with a grateful heart. Do it with a cheerful heart. Look forward to it. if you start to crave addictive foods in the middle of your fast, then ask the Lord, okay, Lord, what's going on? Why am I craving this food when really all I need is you to satisfy me? And I will tell you, I do that about 75% of the time correct. Sometimes I've already got something in my mouth. I'm like, wait a minute, I was supposed to be fasting. So it's just a practice that if you can implement this, your body will be so grateful. All right, let me get my cursor back over here. Oops. All right, and this person was saying from our inner circle group again, I fasted the one meal we were asked to fast. During the fast, I prayed from the fasting cards from Isaiah about the kind of fast God has chosen. It is to loose the chains of wickedness and bond of oppression. I interpret that as any strongholds that I may have. I prayed it the entire day that I fasted, and I can already feel the strongholds start to loosen. Abstaining is getting easier. Praise God. This is submitted by GS. Yeah, this is, do you see what happens when all we do is focus on what Scripture has been teaching us and we apply it to our health? I just kind of get in awe when we talk about everything God has done for us. All right. 3 principles. Oh, I already have them up here, so that took care of that quiz. So, all right. These principles I've taught from the beginning. Okay, well, I already have them on the screen, Kathy. You're telling me you want to do the poll. Okay, we're going to do the poll anyway, even though, let me go back and hide the screen so you don't remember what I put. All right, Kathy, put the poll up there. So, which are not part of the 3 principles? Eat the foods God called good. Let no alcohol touch your lips. Eat foods as close to God's creation. Eat the foods of the Pharisees. Let no food become an idol. So the question is, which are not part of the 3 principles?
Yeah, I see a little backtracking going on.
Yeah, I know. It's like, wait a minute, let me change that. Good answers.
Good answers, yes. Okay, I think we're going to end the poll now. I think we might need to talk about that last one a little bit.
All right, so which are not part of the 3 principles? So, right, the food of the Pharisees is not one of the principles, and neither is letting alcohol touch your lips. And so let me show you the screen again up here. Oops. All right, so the 3 principles. Number 1, eat the food God called good. I teach this extensively in the Treasures of Healthy Living Bible Study. We go over it quite frequently in the Inner Circle coaching. If God called it good, if Jesus ate it, then it's a food that you can use in your feast. The second one is eat as close to God's creation. We're going to talk about that in the next several slides. And the last one is don't let any food become a god. The foods that the billion-dollar industry it has promoted are created to become addictive and to become a god in your life. If you can't stay away from a food for more than 30 days or more, that's a god. So think about that as you go through the day tomorrow. What foods can you not walk away from? What foods can you just let sit in the refrigerator or the freezer where they belong or the pantry and you not touch for 30 days? It's one thing to say, well, I just won't bring it in the house. Okay, yes. An alcoholic can stop going into bars, but if an alcoholic goes into a bar and cannot go in without drinking, that's still an addiction. What we want is that you can have a cookie in the pantry and not eat it to know for a fact that it's no longer a god in your life. Just to throw it away or not bring it in doesn't prove it's not a god. It just means, okay, I'm just going to control the environment. No, we want to help you see where your heart is. And I don't think I've ever shared it that way with you before. So for some of you, that's a new idea of looking at it. So yes, it's very easy to just not bring it in the house. What I want you to do is have it in the house and not let it be your god for 30 days. That's a bigger challenge. So let's look at this. So you've got great authors out there. You got Mark Hyman, his book, Ultra Metabolism. I'm just going to go through their highlights. So he's saying, go without processed junk food, anything with high fructose corn syrup, processed, refined, artificial. That's clear. These are all foods that are in the second principle that have been altered. Well, some of them I don't even call food. What he's saying to do is eat organic, eat wild caught meats, and he doesn't call it biblical foods, but I summarized everything else he had to say with biblical foods. Let me go on. I'm going to kind of slide through these pretty quickly. This is Mastering Diabetes. These are two authors that overcame their type 1 diabetic situation, didn't change. They greatly lessened their need for insulin because they were both type 1. Avoid red meat, eggs, dairy, fish, refined white foods, processed vegan foods, and enjoy fruits, fermented whole foods. Their list is much longer. I'm just kind of summarizing it just to kind of get the point across. If you look at all of these authors, they're all saying the same thing. Get away from processed foods and eat the foods God called good. This is Dr. Tony Jimenez from Hope for Cancer. Avoid GMOs, concentration camp meats, processed foods. He's against dairy and alcohol. Most dairy, unless you have raw dairy, is going to be an altered food that your body is not meant to metabolize. He encourages wild fish, whole foods, and meats that are on non-GMO grains and are being raised correctly. Going on, you've got Dr. William Late, same thing, refined, ultra, boxed, fried, and then instead swap in freshly milled grains. Now, he's one of the rare ones who encourages freshly milled grain, which is what we teach here, whole foods, and only use your air oven or I think it's an air fryer or oven baked. And then Dr. Russell Blaylock about the liver. Avoid foods high in, I don't know what I was writing there. Foods high in fat. Oh yeah, foods high in fat, sugar, and salt. Fried foods, fake foods. And again, I'm summarizing their words. Eat this high fiber, organic meats, fruits, vegetables, and legumes. There is a doctor out there who claims legumes are going to kill you. Actually, if that was true, none of us would be alive because that was the food of biblical days. Liver disease is very important. Remember the fatty liver disease I showed you in the beginning? It's there for help us metabolize our food, to detox naturally every single day. Helps with our blood cleansing. It helps with cholesterol, bile, and helps the endocrine system, which is your hormones. It helps if you have liver issues, you're going to have diabetes, PCOS, infertility, cancer, fatty liver disease, endometriosis, and hepatitis. It's not the complete list. It's just an idea to get you started to think about it. Immediate results when you change your diet. I told you already, my husband got off of his Prevacid after I don't even know how many years. It was, I would guess, at least 10 years he'd been on it. And he was told the famous line, "How long do I take this, doctor?" "Oh, for the rest of your life." Well, that's not what we wanted to hear. So we made a difference. And after 3 days, he was off of it. Hasn't needed it since. Immediate results. And I can say the word immediate because God's foods immediately go in and create a healing effect because that's how God created your body, to receive these foods and take them in. Your cells are saying, wow, I didn't know that she or he would ever bring us food that's going to heal us. And now you can. It reduces inflammation. One of the gentlemen at church, he says, yeah, as soon as I started eating healthy and started eating lots of fruits and vegetables and freshly milled whole grains, my inflammation goes way down. To which I said, wow, then you must be feeling great. He's like, well, no, I only did that for a week. Why? Because we are addicted to the food industry. Reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity. That improves your brain cells. That helps you to think better, helps your hormones to work better. Reduces fat, helps you regain a normal appetite. Improves fertility, lessens cancer proliferation, more energy, better, beautiful skin, vision, muscle tone. All of this is immediate results that you can start to see just because you're eating the foods God called good. Another story. I was not sure this really worked, but after being on the coaching call with Annette and she helped me see the point of my struggle, I cannot believe how simple it was to change. I'm now down 40 pounds and it feels amazing. Not that I lost the weight, but that I did it without dieting. By KC. This is the story. And this could be your story. Maybe it already is your story. Switching to the 3 principles of eating, following those first three tips of just real food, fasting, and I forgot the third one. Real food, learn the signals and learn to fast. Yes. All right. And this person was saying, I never knew that my thoughts, I never knew that my thoughts, I thought were humble words, were actually pride. Now I see God as my all provider. And when the enemy starts to tell me I am not good enough or able to be set free, I know it's a lie. And now I see freedom through all my situations. Thanks, Annette. Submitted by MD. And I know we have some MDs on here, so there's several different people with MD. All right, the last three is this. And you may think this is very simple, which it is, because everything God has given us is simple. And you may think it's common knowledge. It is not. Scripture says we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind. When we give in to addictions, this is not true. When we give in to addictions, we are not loving the Lord with all of our heart. We are loving food. Food has become our God. And the next one is with God all. And I just stopped there. I didn't write out the whole verse, but you know the verse. With God, all things are possible. And that's why I had that verse from Isaiah. When you cry out to him, he will answer. He will hear you. With God, all things are possible. If you're there saying, Annette, you don't know what health challenges I'm facing. No, but I know what started the health challenges, and that was giving into the food industry. The food that you eat is more than 80% the reason for health challenges. Some doctors will say, oh, 80% of doctor visits are stress related. Yes, but a lot of stress is fed by the food we eat. And so by eating the processed foods, the junk foods, the fake foods, what I call lab experiments, we set ourselves up to be stressed. It's the natural inclination. It's going to happen because you cannot have the resilience that you need to have because your cells can't effectively work for you. And the last one, I am the Lord who heals. Not just in Exodus 15, it's in many scriptures throughout his word. And he's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So he healed before, he heals today, he can heal you. So we started with Eve and it ends with Jesus. So Eve entertained contrary ideas. That's us trying to look for quick fixes. She contemplated, we need to learn to be content with real food. She chose to follow, we need to remind ourselves, no, God is the one who heals. And last, she cheated herself, but we don't have to. We can enjoy every amen day. More testimonies. I've tried many programs, but none of them gave me the way out. I felt stuck. The inner circle is different. It reminds me that things will be okay and to forgive myself and to keep working towards the reason I started this in the first place. It has been the most powerful thing for me. If someone else is saying, instead, finally choose where my mindset's going to be. And then this one, last one is saying, I can't tell you how wonderful it feels. These are important testimonies, but what is your testimony? I should say testimony. That's my key word. What is your testimony going to be? The Bible diet is all about three. Back to the Isaiah, I will heal him. I will heal him. You will call and the Lord will answer. You will cry and he will say, here I am. Here I am. If you want to see results sooner with less effort, then get back to eating by the threes that I've taught you tonight. If you want help, join the inner circle. That is why we are here. And this is the exact process of what we teach in the inner circle. And I was looking at the calendar and I thought, wow, it'd be really great if it opens in 3 weeks. But it doesn't. It's actually less than 3 weeks. So you don't have to wait 3 weeks. If you want to see results sooner with less effort, join the inner circle. And here is a link to the inner circle. You can actually just type in thebiblicalnutritionist.com/inner circle and it will come up that way, much shorter than what I have here on the screen. But we also have, a $40 off for the waitlist people, for those just joining. And so I highly recommend you join the waitlist. We're not opening it up tonight. It doesn't open for another 2.5 weeks. So you're not paying anything tonight. But if you're saying, you know what, I just want to get on the wait list and I'm going to think about it and pray about it whenever the doors open, and then I'll know if it's what God wants me to do. We highly recommend everyone get on the wait list. Doesn't mean you're paying, you don't even give us a credit card to get on the wait list. You're just saying, hey, notify me when it opens so I can make my decision. Go to thebiblicalnutritionist.com/inner circle. It's much shorter than what I have on the screen. And that is the only group that gets a $40 off price. Many reasons to join the inner circle. You can read that on the website. And then resources. If you want to know, well, how can I learn more about what you taught me tonight? If you want to learn by yourself, we've got the 40-day transformation course, the Hunger Satisfied Journal, which is to help you gain back those signals, Treasures of Healthy Living Bible Study, and then, of course, YouTube videos. The community, if you're like, you know what, I would prefer to have someone help me do this, then the Inner Circle Coaching Group I would recommend is number one. our biblical wellness retreat, go to biblicalwellnessretreat.com and sign up for the wait list so we notify you as soon as those doors open. Biblicalwellnessministry.com, which is like, you know what, I love this material and I want to teach it to my church or my ministry or my business. Go there. And then you can look into ambassadors and coaches. That's a lot of information for you. And now I will open it up for questions. And for that, I think it's easier for me if I stop sharing my screen and then I can actually see faces. Okay, so looks like Kathy's done a great job keeping up. Let's see.
I have put a few links in the chat room of some of the resources that you mentioned. I didn't get them all, but we got some questions popping in.
Yeah, so the recording, everyone, obviously all of you who are here, you signed up for this. Everyone who signed up for this was going to get an email with the link to watch the recording. So, and you can even share that with your friends and family. It's totally open. It's not, exclusive that only for you. You can share that email with anyone you want. I don't think they had to have signed up to watch the replay, but they do have to be signed up to get the email. So you get the email and then you can share it, I believe. And so we had a question come in by email first, and that was, how do I know what foods are clean and unclean? Not talking about meat, but about vegetables and fruits. So what I believe that questioner was referring to was the dirty dozen and the clean. That is on environmental. We sell little cards. I actually didn't get the minute to take that out of my my closet, but we sell cards on our website, I think for like 50 cents, and we'll mail you one. And the beauty of that is you can put it in your purse and just we got a lot of men on the call. Okay, put it in your pocket, and then you can carry it with you to the grocery store to remind yourself. There we go. It looks like that. And so you can buy those on our website. You can also go to Environmental Working Group, which is ewg.org, and you can download from their site as well. They always have the updated information because they're the ones doing the testing on the produce. All right, I wanted to get that in. What is the 40-day transformation course? I don't know if Kathy put a link into that. It is a course that I put together to help people learn how to change over to a Bible diet. I don't classify it as the Bible diet in the 40-day transformation, but technically it's what it is. And it just walks you through the 40 steps of just changing your heart and your mind, getting rid of the lies that we've been taught for so many years. And hold on, looks like I had someone at the front door and didn't know it. And being able to be set free of so many things, both from the enemy and from the food industry, and just experiencing life in such an amazing way. So 40-day transformation. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Kathy did put that link up there. Okay. All right, let me start making my way. All right, as far as I see, I'm caught up with questions. So are there other questions that you have that you'd like to ask? You're welcome, Cody. Any question, there's no limit. It could be about anything, even if I didn't bring it up tonight. So we're going to go about, okay, Connie? You might have to unmute yourself to speak up since you raised your hand. And it's Connie Holland. I don't know if there's two Connies, but it looks like Connie Holland. And Kathy will put the link to that shopping card in the chat box. What is the best diet for someone who has breast cancer and candida? So recognize those are related. And all right, let me answer it this way. The best diet is always to do what I just suggested. No food that is processed ever again. So we already are seeing, if we're dealing with candida, we're dealing with cancer, our body is already under attack. And so that means there is no room in your diet for anything processed. Let me know, Carolyn, if you understand what processed is or not. And basically, you have processed foods and then you have ultra processed foods. Processed foods can be, you've got a potato and then you've got a potato chip. Potato chips are very ultra processed. My husband likes potato chips, so I will buy non-GMO organic chips so he can still have that crunch. But ultra processed is vegetable oil and a lot of things like that. I didn't go into that, but anything made with vegetable oil, do not eat. It's not a food for you. It's so highly processed and overheated and mechanicalized. It causes havoc to your cells. So if I had candida and if I had cancer, I would not let anything touch my body that was processed. I would be doing everything had to be a food that I can recognize and that I can enjoy in my body. And then I would increase the number of vegetables. I would increase juicing because one, now you'll get conflicting opinions about this because the candida and the sugar issue and the yeast, but natural sugars that come from an apple is not the same as an added sugar. So even candida people can have an apple, or other people will say, no, no fruits at all, not at all. But the pectin in the apple acts as a pre and probiotic that helps get rid of the candida. So we need to be careful what we condemn that God made versus what man has done. So that's what I would do. All right, let me go back and make sure I haven't missed anything about that question. All right, you're welcome, Gail. And how to properly do a 40-day fast. We do, like Kathy's saying, we do have a 40-day course. A 40-day fast, if you're referring to a 40-day water fast or the 40-day lemonade fast, those are all very specific. And if you're talking about those can be very, not many people are healthy enough to do that. So you want to make sure you're extremely healthy before you go into a 40-day fast like that. So just make sure you, that's one of those things I would say, you might want to check with your doctor first. All right, thank you, Carolyn. And let's see, is there a link to the card? Yep, we got that. What is the best program of yours for losing weight and how long approximately does it take to lose 65 pounds? Does age affect how fast you lose weight? Okay, there's a lot in that. I will tell you, when my husband and I decided, all right, you know what? It's time to just eat the foods God called good. At that moment, it was 1 year that I lost the 60 pounds. Now, some people are like, oh, well, that's not fast enough. It's not about the time it takes. It's about the fact that I didn't diet. I'm pausing for effect. So that's what we need to understand. How many times do you want to lose this? And actually, I'm going to ask you to put that answer in the box. How many times do you want to lose the 65 pounds? Does age affect it? Not necessarily. We want to blame age, but typically it's what we're eating that causes the problem. Okay, thank you. You did one. You only want to lose it one time. And I am assuming that means we want to just keep it off, correct? So to lose it and keep it off, everything I've taught you tonight, every single thing I've taught you has walked you through exactly what to do to lose the 65 pounds and never see it come back again. There's no tricks to this. It's eat the foods God called good, avoid every single processed food. It interferes with hormones. It interferes with your leptin, ghrelin, every single thing. I would get rid of any fake salt, Morton salt. I would only use Redmond's real salt. So everything in scripture. So salt is important. Salt doesn't cause edema. Salt doesn't cause heart failure. Processed salt does, because it's only like 40% salt and it's sodium chloride 100%. Redmond's real salt, or if you can find a good Celtic salt, that's fine, has 80 minerals that reduces edema. It helps. So your heart has to have magnesium and calcium. Well, you get the magnesium from the Redmond salt and you get it in the right balance. It's a mineral. You only need a tiny amount. It's in the salt God created for us, which is why we're to be the salt of the earth. The salt that is Morton's, that's the kind that the scripture says they just walk on it. It doesn't really mean that. I'm totally elaborating on that. But you get the point of what I'm saying. When we eat real food, the body responds. It will release weight. That's why that testimony was up there. She was able to release 40 pounds without dieting because, one, her mindset was right. She recognized why she was eating, and she was eating real food. It's amazing. All right. Thank you, Diane. Okay, so I answered that. Potato chips with avocado oil occasionally. Sauteed brands. I don't know how to say that. Foods. Okay. I had prostate cancer for about 10 years. Cancer has not grown much. What can I take to get rid of it? Again, prostate cancer responds very well to the Mediterranean diet. So with that, I would say, if that were me, my olive oil would be the top of the line olive oil. I'd make sure it wasn't any of the fake olive oils. And don't ask me which ones are which, because I can't give you name brands off the top of my head. And it's not always easy to tell. I would probably, if that was the case in our family, I would be buying olive oil from a specific olive oil company and not just Whole Foods or Wegmans, because I don't really trust many stores, no matter how good they claim to be. So I would eat a Mediterranean diet. I would only eat the meat that Jesus would have ate. And I would follow biblical foods in every single meal, because prostate cancer responds to the Mediterranean diet. And that's what I would do. I would probably also add in some beta glucan and some protease enzyme. And Kathy might be able to add some links to those. I'm really getting Kathy. She's going to have to add 100 links to this call tonight. But those would be also key to help give you, to get your body fighting against it. Do you recommend doing the Daniel fast before really going fully with the biblical diet? That's a very interestingly worded question, because the Daniel fast is a fully biblical diet. It is a biblical diet, and you can do the Daniel quote fast for as long as you need to. It can be a full eating plan. It's so extremely healthy. My husband and I, we did it. That's how we got started. One, what it did for us, it helped change our taste preferences. It helped get rid of the addictions to foods that we had. It helped lose the weight. It increased the fiber. We had the satisfaction. We started recognizing hunger and satisfied. And it really set us up to succeed well. But the Daniel fast is fully biblical diet. And but I'm an impulsive person. So when I'm trying to prove something to the doctor and I'm like, we're going to do this. And so I become very intentional. So I just pretty much went home and threw everything out that was a lab experiment food. And that only left us with the Daniel fast food. Menopause specific teaching, again, getting rid of the processed foods and you'll lessen the menopause symptoms. Then we're adding in extra flaxseed. We're making sure every oil that we take in is not a processed oil. I mean, it has to process a little bit to create an oil, but I want my oil to come from like olives and avocados, like that, true oil foods. And then my hormones will respond. Once we do that, we lessen the symptoms greatly. And then we only have a few symptoms to work through with other processes. All right. Is it okay to make potato chips from purple and regular sweet potatoes with the air fryer? Oh, I think that's excellent. I love doing that. And it tells you why you won't overeat, because you spent so much time making the chips. You're not just going to sit there and go through bag after bag, because like, no, this takes too much work. You cannot eat that many. That's how I am with my grandkids. Is like, yes, you can enjoy my dehydrated apples, but I will serve it to you, because there's a lot of work that goes in those. One person asked me, okay, what is the best food to heal GERD? And that is exactly what my husband had, and is dairy foods in good food category. All right, I want to put this in the chat box, because I've taught a lot tonight about what's right and what's not right. The question is dairy foods good? Put in the chat box what you think the answer to that is, and tell me why. Not just yes or no, but tell me what makes it a yes and what makes it a no, if those are your answers. Let's see how you guys answer the question. Is Himalayan salt okay? It depends on the manufacturer. Again, they have learned how to dye salt pink to make it look Himalayan, so you have to go back and check the manufacturer. Avocado can be a good oil. You can check with Kathy at thebiblicalnutritionist.com if you're interested in doing appointments. I don't have very many openings for private appointments, because I do most of my coaching through the inner circle. It's less expensive for you, and you get me a minimum of 4 to 5 times a month. You get Linda 3 times a month. You get Carol Graham 3 times a month. You get Rhonda twice a month. So it's highly incredible. What are your thoughts on, electrolytes? Sometimes electrolytes are necessary because we aren't getting the minerals in our food. And that's why we need to starting with real salt and start with that. And you will start seeing the positive results. So yes, sometimes we have to do electrolytes. Yes, heart disease, arrhythmias, yes, can be improved by the biblical diet. Totally. And it's not that I'm saying that, it's just, you got to recognize God made our body. God created the food for us to eat. Therefore, that's one of the ways that he heals. Okay, let's see what your answers are. I scroll all the way down to the answers.
I'm seeing a lot of different answers, a lot of personal answers.
Yeah, so dairy can be inflammatory. You're right. It can, if it's a processed dairy. You're so right. Let me see. They're kind of jumping around on me. It seems okay if it is raw or fermented yogurt or cheese. Right. So let's clarify that, Joanne. It seems okay if it is raw. That is 100% correct. You do want to know what the cows are being fed. If it's fermented from raw, if it's yogurt from raw, and if it's cheese from raw. I hope that helped you. Yes, but your first answer was right. Okay, how long is the Treasures of Healthy Living Bible study? It can be a 12-week course, or you can read it faster than that if you want. And yeah, technically it's 13. The videos, you can buy it with videos, you can buy it without videos, you can buy it all digital, you can buy it, the books being a book, totally up to you, whatever you choose to do. What platform for Inner Circle is there a particular scheduled time for it? And Kathy has shared that it's basically digital, but we meet on Zoom. So just as you're seeing me and I'm seeing you, this is how we would coach. Sometimes if you have a private question, I'll just answer you through the chat. Or what I suggest, if you have a private question, don't show your face, change your name on the screen, and we can talk. Because I want to be here to serve you, but I also want to teach you how to coach yourself. So that way I can teach you to be your own coach, so that for the rest of your life, you know how to work through every single situation, especially when the enemy tries to bring some accusations that are lies. Sheep yogurt, okay. Again, how is the animal raised? That is a clean animal. And according to scripture, so how is the animal raised? That's always going to be your question. In Oregon, you can't get raw. Yeah, Oregon's got some funny things going on up there. Let's see, beautiful state. I still need to get there. Okay, so again, I use goat and sheep cheese. I'm not say that many times in a row. Or sheep yogurt, that's easier. Again, if it's raw.
I think this yeast question has come up a couple of times today. When you make fresh milled bread, what kind of yeast should you use?
I missed that one. Yeah, I typically buy the 1 pound pack, like it's red, what's it called? Red something, Red Star. But typically if it's a 1 pound foil pack, it's going to have an extended life. And so that you can just take that, pour it into a mason jar, keep it in the freezer or the refrigerator, bring it to room temperature when you're going to use it for best results. And those are the ones I use. I don't use that small jar in the grocery store, and I never buy the packets. They've lost their life and they're just not as good. Okay, so I like this question, Michelle. How can you maintain a Bible diet if you're going out with your family and decide to eat in a restaurant? That's a really good question. So there are a lot of people on this call that have been in my coaching for a long time. So Michelle, let's start seeing some answers put in this box. Judy, I want to see some answers. I know there's some more. I thought I saw Carolyn. Oh, we got someone at the front door. I keep missing. Let's see some answers put in the box. How do we eat the biblical diet at a restaurant? And let's see, I've been doing sourdough, but wanting to try yeast. I fresh grind ancient grains. Good for you, Jeanette. All right, so I think I've got everybody in the front door. I'm not seeing my answers. Okay, plan ahead. There we go. Thank you, Carolyn. If possible to see the menu, choose foods that God made for us to eat. We plan ahead. Good. Yeah. So do you think there would be biblical foods at a restaurant? Pray. There we go. Eat food choices that are not processed and as close to natural as possible. Exactly, Kimberly. You're right. So I can get a salad. Typically, my general rule is I don't buy meat or order meat at a restaurant because I don't know how it's been raised or how it's been processed. And typically, the waitress has no clue. So I just always eat vegetarian at a restaurant, and bread, usually we pass on the bread as well because it's always going to be a processed bread. But there's some Mediterranean restaurants around here that I just love. I mean, they'll have some homemade hummus, and they'll even do organic hummus, which chickpeas are important because of the spray. Eat plant-based. Exactly, Sheila. Good answer. Don't let them bring the bread to the table. Good. Choose veggies and lean protein if possible. Exactly. You guys already know the answer. And you know what? God is the giver of wisdom and knowledge. And so we don't have to wonder. We just have to have the foundation, the basic principles, and then we can go anywhere. Three principles. Okay. They're timeless. They're not going to change every 5 years, like all of the eating rules on the internet. Did I ever address is that whole food plant-based eating, Paula? Is that what you meant? Um, I I think I do have meat in my diet, but not as much as I did before we even started this in 2003. So if that's what you're referring to, I think you can have an extremely healthy body with whole food plant-based, but I also know not everyone is the same. So what I want you to realize is when you use the Hunger Satisfied journal, the whole intent of that is to identify what foods are doing well in your body and what foods are not, what foods are trigger sensitive for you, and how to get back your hunger and satisfied hormones. So that's the purpose of this, and we use this extensively in the inner circle. And so anyway, all right, I think, Kathy, is there anything else I really need to cover? Oh, well,
I
Judy
didn't see
had,
anything. I did add another link
okay.
for the Hunger Satisfied Journal.
And remember, when you're going out to eat at a restaurant, make it about the fellowship. And if I look at the menu ahead of time before even leaving the house, I'm no longer caught up into that. Oh no, but look, oh, but she ordered. Oh, but he ordered. Oh, that sounds so good. Now I don't know what to do. I already know what I'm going to order, and I order first if possible. And then I'm not swayed by, oh, that does sound good. So tell me I'm not the only one who gets caught up in, oh, that sounded really good. Maybe I'll have that instead. Again, with when we're talking about our blood cell count, the white blood cells and red blood cells, first of all, we have to get rid of all processed food. So we have to know what exactly is contributing to our challenge, the health issue that we're dealing with. If we don't get rid of processed food for a minimum of 30 days, if we don't have a very high fiber diet, if we aren't sweating, we don't always know exactly what to change in our diet to create a better white blood cell count. So this is why when people, I don't offer my consults privately very often because I need people to do what I taught you to do prior to meeting with me. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you to do what I just told you to do. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We need to clear out the obvious so we can get to the specifics. And many times the obvious are obvious. And if you start using the journal and you're like, oh, I still keep having this issue, well, then go back 7 days and realize, what have you been eating consistently for 7 days? And that may be a trigger. Or, those potato chips that you slip in every day, like, well, it's only a handful. That may have a chemical on it that is contributing to your health challenge. And we need to be able to identify it. This book is worth thousands of dollars of healthcare savings. So it's like your health savings account by doing the journal and understanding how your body responds to food. So if I eat mostly plant-based, that doesn't mean you have to. It just means that's what works for me. You know what, Cody, you're right. Some families are difficult to get on board. The cookbook's been good. Thank you very much. And yeah, the cookbook was my transitional book for getting my husband to eat healthy. So he says, I'll eat it if it tastes good. So I just have to be very careful how I discuss what's in it. So does processed food include mixes? Oops, my page. Mixes made with almond flour. Who milled the flour? You need to mill the flour. Even I know this. I know you said almond flour. I wouldn't buy almond flour. I would mill it myself and make it myself. It's very simple. Oh, good, Stephanie. Luke's interview was so much fun. I have the 7 foods of the promised land and treasures of healthy living. Thank you so much. And may Jehovah continue to bless you. Thank you so much, Stephanie. You're so sweet. And I that goes to all of us. What we have is a window of time where our food is going to be improved. But let me tell you this, it's not the government's position to tell you what to eat. It doesn't matter truly what the government does to our food because you have full choice of what you're going to eat. Now you may say, but Annette, I can't garden. Okay, well, let me tell you this. If you say I can't garden, can you work in a garden even if you don't have a garden? Because if you really pray about it, God will show you a farm down the road that could use help and you just swap out food for working with him. There's no limit to the ways that God is going to show you how he's going to provide for you because he's already promised in his word. Our limitations come is when we're dependent on the government to control everything for us. Like, well, I can't believe they let all those chemicals in our food. What does it matter? We shouldn't have ate them anyway. I've never taught you to go eat Fruit Loops. I mean, seriously, we've always had control of our health. We just have to claim it back. So that's why we said at the retreat, we are reclaiming our health. We're reclaiming our future. We're reclaiming our family. And we feed our family what we can. Whether they agree with us or not, I still control what I cook. And that's really the bottom line. And I don't know that answer, Eric, if you can grab the chat after this is done. Kathy will have to answer.
No, we won't be able to, but I have a list of links that I have added, and I will add it to the email that I send out to everyone with the recording.
Good.
But I thought I've seen some of the replays from Linda that had the chat with it. So I don't
look on your own screen, and you should have an option